three nominations. And all three, we're going to have a few qualifications we're going to have to meet. One, for this position, I think all three of y'all are going to have a bond, a $30,000 bond. And I understand I wouldn't go get one either until I had some thought that I was going to get confirmed, but I think after today, if you are approved by the committee, that I would go ahead and start working on that bond. Would like to get that either in the works or because it had to come before the floor probably first of next week. So I'd go ahead and start working on that bond because that's part of the qualifications. Also in the peer report, it did state that all three of you would need to file a statement of economic interest with the Mississippi Ethics Commission. That takes just a few minutes. So we'd like to have that done prior to your nominations coming to the floor. First off, we'll call up Senate nomination number 65, Mr. Maloney. Would you come on up and take a seat right there and push the button up for the microphone? And reviewing your peer report, and let the committee give them a little time just to review it. You did meet the qualifications of being appointed to the Commission on Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, nominated by our governor. And we'd like to give you a few minutes just to give us a statement or a rundown of anything you'd like us to know. Then we'll open up to questions.
I'm Colin Maloney. I'm a business owner in Tupelo, Mississippi. I am an avid hunter and wildlife, and like I said, I'm very interested in the state parks in Mississippi. So I feel like I can do a great job in serving on this board and excited about it. Thank you guys for having me here.
All right. I'm glad to hear you state that state parks are a big interest. I think that's a big part of why I decided to run and was fortunate enough to be here with us. But I'll be happy to open up to anybody that has any questions. All right, Senator Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Maloney, you're fulfilling the ending of a term with somebody else already at this present time, or are you a reappointment?
For a 5-year term, is it not a full?
Yeah, it looks like a 5-year term. It's beginning July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2029.
So you've been serving since 24?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the economic interest statements and the surety bond, I would strongly recommend that y'all get your surety bond completed, because you've already taken the oath back when you first got sworn in to fulfill the end of that previous term.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have any further questions? Senator Whaley.
How are you, Mr. Maloney? It's good to see you. I appreciate you being willing to serve, and I know that you had served in a previous role with the outdoor stewardship. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your continuance to serve. Could you speak a little bit to a vision that you have for the commission going forward, and what you would like to see or what you would not like to see, maybe more importantly?
Well, like I said, one of my passions is seeing that our state parks are brought up to the standards of our neighbors in the surrounding states. I think they may have gone kind of gotten the back burner over the past few years, and I think that's kind of a passion of mine. I live next door to a state park, so seeing those strive and being something that Mississippians can be proud of is a passion of mine.
Well, I can appreciate that, and I know that there has been a great deal of work in the past few years, and I look for that to continue, hopefully, bringing our state parks up. I know that the legislature has been very key in that, and I appreciate the work of the department, especially the executive director and the commission, in helping to see that through. So I appreciate that statement, and I'll have a motion at the proper time, Mr.
Senator McClendon.
Here we go. I got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been serving since 24?
Yes.
And you haven't had a bond? Sir? Do they at the present time? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say, would you please check on that, get back with us, because, the peer staff, didn't have any record, or this, didn't find a record, with the Secretary of State's office, so we need to make sure we get those bonds. Just, okay. All right, yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, do we have any further questions? All right, do we have a motion?
Move that we do advise and consent.
All right, motion is that we do advise and consent. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, this will go to the floor.
Thank you.
Next we have, Senate nomination number 84, Mr. Hairston.
Press the button again.
That's as long as the green light's on. Same thing, we need to work on the bond, and we also need to file that statement of economic interest with the Ethics Commission if the board, does choose to advise and consent. Looking at everything, I think Mr. Harrison, does meet the qualifications. He was appointed by our governor, to serve a term June 27th, 2024 through June 30th, 2028. Does anyone have any questions? Senator Brumfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell me where the 5th congressional district is?
You,
It says 5th congressional district
on the coast.
on the coast
Yeah, along the coast.
as it exists.
Senator England.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could speak to that, I believe I know the issue with that. And Senator Brumfield is correct. It does say the 5th congressional district still, but as you know, we only have 4. But it's my understanding that a lot of places in our code still reference that when it comes to districts involved in these boards. So it says 5th congressional district, even though we don't have one. But it's still it's the same area that was originally the 5th congressional district before we lost that congressional seat several years back.
Right, and as Senator Whaley was pointing out, if you look on the peer report, it does say Fifth Congressional District as it existed July 1, 1994. At the time, there were 5 congressional districts in the state, which due to population, we end up reducing down to 4 now. All right, Senator Whaley.
Thank you, Mr. Hairston, for coming here before us. You and I have had discussions in the past, and we've talked. I appreciate your willingness to serve. If you could, same question that I had for Mr. Maloney, can you kind of give me an overview of what you think you would like to see as a commission, or what you would not like to see? If you could expand upon that for me, please.
Sure. Thank you again for allowing me to be here. So like every team, none are perfect. And when I say team, I don't mean the department. I'm talking about everyone interested in wildlife and everything our state has to offer. I think that all teams can get better and better and better. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to work both with elected officials, the agency, and everybody else to try to promote Mississippi by first getting down in the weeds and taking care of what's on the ground, but then also by promoting what we have and showing people how much they can enjoy what our state has to offer. That's kind of where my mind is. I also am very interested in state parks. Last year I had a camper and took my family around to a lot of state parks around kind of the southeast and enjoyed other states, what they had. And the bones of the ones in Mississippi are really, really cool. And I'd love to see them look a lot better.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you mentioning your travels to the state parks, and I hope that as a commission member, you'll see to get around to more. I'm still working on trying to get around to all of them myself. But make sure you get to North Mississippi where you can see some of the good ones, all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm all over. I live on the coast, but I'm all over. Actually, Commissioner Maloney and myself have a loose plan to try to go and visit all of them in the next 12 months. So hopefully we can get that done.
Are y'all going to drive to them or are y'all
We
going
were,
to fly to them?
well, you know the answer to that, right?
All right, Senator England,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just have a motion at the proper time.
any other further questions? Senator Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hairston, looking over this, there is some derogatory information here dealing with several arrests for DUIs. I feel confident because the governor has appointed you that this is all behind you. But do you feel that you can toe the line and not misrepresent Mississippi?
I'm more glad that you asked that than no offense, Mr. Whaley, but I love answering that question these days. You know, when a change in somebody's life, like happened to me, happens to somebody, I'll say it like this. Folks say all the time, man, I bet you're scared to, slip up and get back to who you used to be 4 years ago. And that's not really true because I know what it looks like. I'm not scared of it. What I'm scared of is losing what I have now. When God's giving you a life like I got right now, brother, you don't ever want it to change. And certainly not by your doing. And so I have all the confidence in the world in myself and not being that person again because I have confidence in God.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, do we have any further questions? All right, Senator Brumfield.
One more, Mr. Chairman, just a friendly question. Mr. Harrison, are you an avid hunter and fisherman as well?
I drove in from Laredo, Texas late last night from a predator hunt. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Almost got bit by a rattlesnake.
All right, Senator England.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My motion is we do advise and consent.
All right, the motion is that we do advise and consent. All those in favor say aye. All right, any opposed? All right, your nomination will go to the floor. And Mr. Harrison, like I said, again, I would suggest you get up to date on your ethics commission. It's like you have filed one previously, but it's out of date. And we need to make sure you check on the bond also.
The bond stuff, I know that Commissioner Maloney and I previously had turned it in, but I think the turnover at the agency caused a glitch.
All right, we'll get that figured out. Just want you to follow up with it. All right, the next nomination we have is Senate nomination number 95. Come on down, Mr. St. John.
He needed my chair anyway.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Glad to have you here. Again, like I said, what I've said previously, we need to file a certificate of with the Ethics Commission, and then we'll check on the bond. But you've been appointed by Governor Tate Reeves beginning July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2030 to represent the Commission of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Would you like to give us a statement?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity being here. I can tell you that this is a dream come true. I lost my dad when I was 10 years old, and so I had several men that were acquaintances to our family take us hunting and fishing and that sort of thing. And one of the people that took me was a gentleman named Bobby Cook. He lived down in Lucedale, and he was a commissioner on the Game and Fish Commission back at the time. And we went to Henneberry and hunted and different things like that. And I just became very keenly interested in Mississippi and wildlife. I'm an avid hunter and fisherman, and I live in Madison. I grew up in Hattiesburg, went to Paul B. Johnson State Park a lot, growing up and skiing and cabins and retreats and different things like that. So I can have an appreciation of both. And I think it's so important that Mississippi has stepped up and started really investing some money in the state park system and that sort of thing. I just think that there's great momentum going on right now. Some areas, I think the marketing of the MDWFP is high level. I think there's a great message being sent out to the public and to the citizens of the state. And I think on the flip side of that, I think there's more that needs to be done with CWD and awareness and involvement. I can tell you that I'm very committed to the state and the success. My family actually participates and has an endowed fellowship with Bronson Strickland in the MSU Deer Lab. I've been supporting that for the last 5 years. So I'm very committed to the success of this state. I'm a businessman. I've got a precast company in Canton, but I can take some time off from here and there. And so I spend all my time either on the water or in the woods.
And I will note that, I know you've been on the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. I think you're one of the original members.
I was, and I'm chairman currently.
Would anyone, have any questions? Senator McClendon?
I'm a little torn with this nomination only because I don't want to lose him on the Mississippi Stewardship Trust Fund. But y'all done an outstanding job there. And I just wanted to say
It's a team effort.
it is a team effort, and I've been fortunate enough to meet the entire team that y'all have. And it's not a centralized part of the state. It's all over the state that the things that y'all have done for communities all over with the little amount of time that you've had. And I hope this legislature will continue to fund that group. And I hope you have some input a little bit on the next hire there, because if it's anything like you've done,
I have
think
made
that-
a couple of recommendations to the governor's office,
Well, thank you, sir.
and they would be excellent candidates. I can also tell you that I kind of head up a group of 4 individuals that we've got a smaller project that we're working on right now involving conservation and outdoors and that sort of thing. And it's going to have a tourism component for it. So it's going to drive traffic into state parks and everything that we do, out-of-state licenses and that sort of thing. So there's just great things going on right now, and it's exciting. And I'm just proud to be sitting here today.
All right, do we have any further questions? Senator Wiley?
First off, I appreciate you being here, Mr. St. John. I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for the work that you've done on the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. That was an issue that was pretty close to my heart, as I spent a good bit of time working on that issue with several of you, and especially in the room here. And I do know that we have done some great things with that, and I look for that to continue in the future. To start off, I want to get into the same thing. What do you see as a future for the commission as far as positive things that you can expand on or negative things that you would like to see revoked? So, I mean, if you would just kind of expand on it a little bit for me.
Well, I think the citizens of the state really look at the commission as the body that protects their interest in wildlife and conservation and state parks and that sort of thing. And I think it's really important that the commission does their due diligence with issues that come up and deal in fact and science and information like that. And then I think we can make good decisions, if I'm so, inclined to get approved, that really are impactful decisions that have long-term consequences that are all positive. So I think the commission is operating in a really good spot right now. But I think that we just got to continue to reach new heights, because I think the state has got such assets. We've got the Gulf of Mexico, we've got the Delta, we've got the hills and different, the geographic diversity is incredible. And so I just think that we continue to make smart decisions, ask good questions, build good partnerships, and get research and information in front of people that they can make sound decisions based upon the need.
Well, and if you could, in your opening statement, you mentioned CWD, and um, I think that there are a lot of different viewpoints on CWD, and I think that the term you used was um, more realization to CWD, or
Said more awareness.
more awareness to CWD. So if you could kind of expand upon that, and I'm going to have something after that.
I can, as a hunter, I can as a, a scientist.
Well, I want the hunter perspective.
Okay, from the hunter perspective, I just think we have to make smart decisions. There's states out west that have been dealing with CWD for 35 years, and they still have hunting seasons and that sort of thing. So I just think we've got to make, good decisions that inform people on things that are positive in being able to manage. I think the commission, I think MDWFP's doing a great job of managing what we have now. We just got to continue that and make sure that everybody understands. You hear some people that don't believe it exists and different things like that. We got to work on those people, because that's information that is not correct. And so that's where I stand.
Well, and I would agree with you that there are people that believe that it does not exist. I'm not one of them. I do believe it exists. However, I think that as a movement, as far as industry wide, and I'm not going to just say Mississippi, but I think that there are several that have missed the mark on this. And I come from an area to where, if you listen, the area that I live is the most contaminated area of the state. And we do have some CWD positive animals. I get that. And we have created a hysteria in my area that everything must be checked and and I know that that's the goal eventually of a lot of the agency or people within the agency to establish game checks, which I'm opposed to. I just think that it's an overreach. There have been different regulations put into place in the area that I represent because of CWD. Bag limits have increased. Minimum requirements for antler sizes have been decreased. And we sit here and we wonder why we don't have any deer and why we don't have any trophy bucks anymore. Well, I will tell you, from the hunter's perspective and the landowner's perspective, of seeing trophy deer year after year after year until these regulations are put into place, and see every spike that walks across the road be shot, and we wonder why we don't have deer. My deal, and I've enjoyed working with the commission, but I do not want to see a position where the commission continues an overreach and hurts areas like they have hurt mine. I don't want to see that across the rest of the state, because my area has been hurt. And I'm not meaning to pick on you, but you did mention CWD, and it put the thought in my head. So I wish that the commission in the future would continue to work on that, and work with the legislature and some of your locals in the area, because I am not happy with what has happened in my area, and I know that the adjoining landowners are not happy either. So I would hope that we could have some discussions on that in the future.
Well, I would tell you that the best thing I can do is absorb and be a sponge and get on there and listen and find out the history and learn the lessons. That's exactly what I'm going to try to do. And I think there again, factual information and understanding the historical perspective and what works and what doesn't and that sort of thing. I am so impressed. Russ Walsh is a really good friend of mine. I serve on the Wildlife Advisory Committee at Mississippi State. I usually sit next to him, and man, let me tell you what, That guy's a superstar.
Well, I do wish that as a collective body, the commission I'm speaking of would take a look at what has happened in Marshall and Benton County and realize that, yes, I'm sure that there is CWD, and I am a firm believer that you find things when you look for it. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything of that, but I do know that some of this started, and it does have me, and this goes back to administrations prior to the one that we're in now. No one in the department was there when I'm speaking of this, but I have seen things with CWD that makes me hesitant to agree as much as others would. And I'm just beg you, please, as the commission, would you look at the decisions that have been made in Marshall and Benton, Union, Tate, the Northern Hill section as it's described in the regulation book? Would you look at what has happened to those areas and please not make that same mistake across the rest of the state? That's just my question to y'all, please.
I would like to address one issue, just to make sure everybody knows that my last meeting as chairman of the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund would be the second Monday in July. That's when my term ends. And so I would resign at that point, even though I have another year left. There will be no conflict of interest in between those two.
All right, we have any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion, advise consent.
Motion is that we do advise the consent. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, any opposed? All right, we'll bring
Thank you.
you to the floor. All right, rise and report.